Consumer sentiment is still deeply pessimistic. The Westpac Melbourne Institute survey for the month of July showed another fall back to very low levels. The areas of consumer sentiment where people are most negative are the ones relating to their own finances. Now, one of the reasons why these numbers might have been so weak is that people hadn't yet seen the award wage increases and the tax cuts in their pay packets. It was too early in the month for them to have a full pay with the benefit of those wage increases and tax cuts. Even allowing for that, people are still very pessimistic, and part of the reason for this is that 60% of respondents expect another increase in interest rates. How likely is that? Now, one should never say never. And if inflation does end up being stronger than we expect, it is possible that the Reserve Bank Board may feel that they have to act. But that is not our core view. Inflation is too high, but it is coming down. If inflation turns out roughly as we expect in the June quarter, then that means that it is declining at broadly the pace that the Reserve Bank is hoping for. An outcome like that would support the Reserve Bank keeping rates on hold in the short term before ultimately starting to cut rates as inflation starts to approach their 2 to 3% target range. You can never predict the future perfectly, but that is the outcome that we think is most likely. Ask again after the June quarter CPI data. The Reserve Bank will also be looking ahead to the labour market data that is coming out soon. It will be mindful that even though unemployment has only risen a little, the labour market is not as tight as it was a year ago. Vacancy rates have come down a long way, and so have job ads. The Reserve Bank Board will also be mindful that other central banks have already started cutting rates or are actively contemplating doing so soon. Now, they don't have to move in lockstep with their peers overseas, but the experience of other central banks has been a guide for how things may play out in Australia. We saw a common global inflation shock, and so they will take the lessons of elsewhere in terms of thinking about how quickly inflation might come down from here. We can never be sure how the future might play out, but at the moment we expect that the RBA will be on hold, depending on the data flow between now and their next meeting.
The content of this recording is informational and of general nature only, and is not intended to constitute a research report or reflect any recommendation or financial advice. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs, and investment decisions should not be based on it. You should obtain your own independent advice before proceeding with any investment decision. Whilst every effort has been taken to ensure that the contents are correct and any opinions, forecasts, conclusions are reasonably held based on information at the date of recording, Westpac does not make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or information contained in this recording, and any liability therefore is expressly disclaimed to the extent permitted by law. None of the material included in this recording should be copied, published, or reproduced in whole or in part without the prior written permission of Westpac.